Hi friends, how are we all? Today it is of course 626 Day in honour of Stitch, the man himself, or the experiment himself, shall I say. He is everywhere at the minute because of course the new Lilo and Stitch film has come out, and it is a very special day in honour of him, with it being the 26th of June. So I thought it was only right to do a Disney pin deep dive into our Stitch collection. Our board is probably the fullest out of all of our collections for Stitch. We have a Pixar board which is relatively full at the moment, but it's made up of lots of different films, whereas this is just focusing on Stitch. Lilo pops in a couple of times, as well as some other special guests, but Stitch of course is the focus. He is everywhere. I think it's fair to say that his face is probably around Disneyland Paris more than Mickey himself. He's a gorgeous character, I think. I understand there is a bit of a divide in opinions because of the fact that he is everywhere. I personally haven't thought too much about it, if I'm honest. If you feel strongly against it, cool. If you don't mind, cool. But I don't mind, and I do think some of the pins that he has are some of the kind of the funniest and some of the best. Some of the pins on this board are actually some of my favourite pins overall. So without further ado, let's just crack on, shall we? Also, shout out to my little quarter button up. This is from Primark. It was reduced to like £7. It is one of the coziest, softest, warmest little fleeces I own. I don't think I'll need it for this next trip we're going on, just because we're going to Paris in July, and I think, well, I hope it'll be quite warm. However, when we go in November, I'm thinking something like this will be perfect just to wrap up all cozy in and stay nice and warm. Right, let's talk about pins. Enough about fashion, let's go on to pins. As always, I'm just going to preface this by saying I have terrible memory. So if I kind of have an inkling as to where the pin came from, I will do my absolute best to pop it in the video. I will say it as much as I can. However, if I'm not sure, I will be totally honest. I don't always remember who we've traded with or who we've bought from. We have a lot of pins, so bear with me. However, I always endeavour to put it on the screen or put it in the comments. I think people deserve credit where it's due, but as I'm sure you can imagine, remembering lots of names, it can be difficult, okay? Anyway, I am going to start off just by showing you the board, actually, just because we've got several here already, and I think just to get an idea of how wonderfully colourful the board is, it's one of my favourites to look at because I just think he has some really funky pins. So the first ones I'm going to start with are some of my most recent favourites. So we have Stitch dressed as villains. I absolutely love them. So here we have Stitch dressed as the evil queen, and one of our favourite features about this is that his little bum cheeks are just there, and he looks so serious, like he's got such a kind of deadpan expression. And I know he's obviously meant to be giving himself like a mirror, mirror on the wall, or magic mirror on the wall kind of talk. However, he kind of just looks like he's contemplating life. Moving on swiftly, we have Stitch dressed as Cruella now. So same series. These came out, I believe, not last month, but the month prior. So what would that make it? April. And we got a handful of these from Stupins. One of these was bought from the Stupins live sale, and one was bought from Facebook. So this is as Yzma, and of course he's got like a little, I think that's Scrump as the Emperor, and the Duckies, which is a part of the Stitch series as well. There's quite a lot of Stitch pins where he's dressed as other characters, and the little ducklings are with him, also dressed as little side characters, and it's so gorgeous. I love these pins for the detail, and I think this is why I'm personally like not that offended by Stitch being on everything, because what they've done is they've got Stitch as your main character, but he's often dressed up as other characters, and I just think that's really funny. It's not just the same pin over and over again. So we've got one here of Stitch dressed as Ursula. I think it's so funny. I know that there is one where he's dressed as the Queen of Hearts. We don't have that one yet, but we are going to the Pinsane event in London, as I think I've said in every video so far. And there's quite a lot of pins now that I'm not buying because I want to see if I can get them at the event. It's, you know, otherwise I'm going to get there and there won't be any pins for the that I need or want or have. So I might as well try and save myself, but I do know that I want the or I would like the Stitch as the Queen of Hearts because that ties into the series. Moving on, one of my absolute favorite pins ever is this one here. I think it is so funny. We got this pretty soon after our trip in September. I think I saw this when we were there, or I saw a picture of it and it had recently been at Disneyland Paris, maybe before we went. And bear in mind, Joe and I were still relatively new to pin collecting. So at that point, I wasn't really buying pins like seriously, I suppose. I was just buying ones that I liked the look of. And then I remember on the way home, I just kept thinking about this pin because I was like, oh, I just wish I bought the one where he was dressed as Aurora. So you can see here, he's got a beautiful wig on. His crown is ever so slightly off center. He's got his dress on, which is falling off of his little shoulders there. And then I believe the ducklings are now dressed as the fairies. However, what I have realised is you've only got 2 of the fairies there. I don't know which ones they are. It could be Merryweather and Fauna or Flora. I don't know. Sorry. Please don't hurt me. But yeah, how sweet is that? And he, again, just looks so fed up, which I think is what I like. It's comical. Whoever designed these pins sort of really thought about this. I don't know. He kind of comes across as he's like really over it, and Disney are just making him dress up as all of these characters. Moving on, we have Stitch as a mermaid. Now, originally when I first saw these, I thought this was like a Little Mermaid kind of tribute, I suppose, but it's not. It's part of the Flight to Neverland ride. So Joe, I believe, found this for me, maybe on the Stu Pins website, I think. It was one of my very early Disney pins in the post videos that I did over on TikTok, and I love it. I think it's fabulous. Moving on to some other classic Stitch pins that we have. This is one of Joe's favourites, and we have a couple that are very similar, but this is of course the classic scene in Lilo and Stitch where Stitch is now trying to kind of pick up on more human acts, I guess, and chores, and he attempts to do some laundry and of course gets distracted by all of the clothing, including a swimsuit. It's quite funny. Joe often finds pins that are of that style because I think he just finds the scene really funny. There's a meme at the minute going around where it's like, it's that clip where Stitch is doing something with the washing, and it's like, oh, when your boyfriend finishes one chore out of 100, or when your boyfriend has a list of chores, and it's that. And I think it's really funny because it kind of reminds me of Joe a little bit. He says it as well. He sends me the meme, so you know, whatever. We also have this little one here of Stitch. Similar idea, just no washing basket or cape. So we've popped them 2 together. We've then got some really cute ones. I think you can't deny that Stitch, though he's a little bit of a menace, he is also just like a little furry baby. So we have one here of Stitch with a little frog. He's just a little cutie pie there. And then we also have Sleepy Stitch just here. Now, I think this Sleepy Stitch is a part of a bigger series of other characters that are like getting ready for bed. I believe there's a Sleepy Mickey that's got like little red pajamas on and a dressing gown. So for now, we just have the Stitch one because I didn't realise at the time that it was a part of a bigger series, but I do think we want the Sleepy Mickey. It's got a nice yellow mug, and if you know me, it's like the primary colour, so it looks great. And then we have this gorgeous one here of part of 626 Day. There you go. So this was probably released in the past couple of years. I'll need to do I'll tell you what, I can find out on the back, can't I? This was 2024, so yeah, last year. Perfect. Wow, a year on and this was out. And it's Stitch in his little crate of a bed, and it's 3D, so it's got some great layers to it, including his little bottle there. I think that's coffee. And then this beautiful little logo, if I can get it kind of focused in on it. Oh, sorry. This little emblem here, and it says 626 Day on there. So really nice quality pin. I have a really funny kind of sleepy Stitch here where he has this lovely snot bubble coming out, and he's got a little bottle of milk, and he has Scrump again in his little onesie, or baby grow, whatever you want to call it. I've got one more here of him dressed up as Maleficent as a dragon, and there's a little ducky here as a knight. One of my favourites, which I bought secondhand last year, is this watch face. Just a really beautiful pin. It's movable, it's on little hinges, and it's just Stitch in the middle there. Primary colours, so you know that I'm going to like it anyway. And he looks like he's dressed as a little bit of an artist, so I think he's got a beret on, and he's got a palette, and he's holding a paintbrush. So I'm not 100% sure what the significance of this is. I don't know if there was other watches that were released. This was out in 2008. If you know anything about this series, please put it in the comments if you want. I'd love to kind of see what else is out there with the watches, because this is one of my favourites. I think it's quite unique compared to some of the other Stitch pins that we have. We then have, I'm just going to show off some of the little ones, because amongst all of the big pins here, we've got this little collection of pins where he's dressed as lots of different moments from the film, so they're really sweet. So quick fire, we have Stitch pulling this massive cake out of the oven. We have this tiny little one here of Stitch dressed as Elvis, which is one of my favourite scenes. One of my favourite moments, I think, in the Lilo and Stitch films is, well, obviously when Lilo's kind of having a meltdown, let's be honest, and she's singing along, and the record player of Elvis is there, and Bubbles is on his way, and she's just like, she's over it. I think we can all relate to Lilo a lot in that moment. Then we've got Halloween here, which I believe is at the very end of the film when they're having like that lovely montage of what life is like for them now. I believe there is like a little moment with Halloween in it. We have this lovely, I think it's got a price tag still on it. We have this really cute little pin here of them both playing with the record player, and I suppose Stitch is sort of acting like a bit of a gramophone with his mouth being the speaker. We've got two tiny little pins here that go together of them both hula dancing. I don't know how to get this into focus. Shall we just focus on one for now? There we go. And then we've got the other one here of Stitch in his little hula skirt. And then to go alongside that little one, we do also have a little Experiment 626 pin here. My thing at the minute is I'm trying to save up my money for our trip, but I'm also trying to save a bit of money for the pin event, because I'll most likely buy some pins as well, or like a new pin folio or something. But then I'm also like, I keep seeing pins that people are selling online or wanting to trade, and I'm like, well, do I do anything kind of pre-event? I don't know. I think I need to just like be sensible now for the next few weeks, because ultimately my money will be better spent at the events and it'll be more fun. Let's be honest, as much as it's about trading, there is also opportunities to buy, and I know myself, I enjoy spending money. Shock. So yeah, I'm trying to like hold off on any more purchases or any trades now so I can save it for that week. Moving on to some just kind of other little Stitch pins that we have. We've got this really lovely one here which just says Ohana means family, and it's Lilo and Stitch with a lovely little hug there. Very sweet. I've got a pin here which I got secondhand off of Vinted. I bought it in a bigger set, and I believe it was from like a mystery pack of license plates, and this is from a cast lanyard collection. This is 3 or 4, I don't know. And it just says Experiment 626, and it's a Florida license plate. We've got a couple more here. Sorry, I'm like dotting around the board a little bit. Normally I try and follow a bit of a routine, but we've got this one here, which I believe I bought from Stew Pins on a live sale. And it's this really funky little pin here of Stitch surfing, and it does move, so he's riding the wave. I think that's really cool. This is from 2004. Nice. It was 2004 when the film came out. Shall we have a little quick Google just to see? 2002. Wow, 23 years old now. That's kind of wild, so I would have been 4 when it came out. Not that I remember it coming out, I'll be honest, but definitely remember watching it as a kid. We have this little pin here, which again is like this really cool like 3D effect pin, and it's Stitch on this spring here. It looks like he's sort of flying out, and it just says Find Stitch, and it's got the Sensational 6 on it actually, or the Fab 5, whatever you want to call them, and they look like they're bursting out of a bit of an explosion, and then Stitch is there as well. Find Stitch. I'm not too sure what that's about, if I'm honest. So again, if you know anything about these pins, please do let me know, because I usually just buy them because I think they look cool, not necessarily because I know what they commemorate. So, you know, we have a really cool supporting cast pin here, which, as you know, I absolutely love these pins because, I mean, the detail of that is just stunning. Absolutely love that pin. So you've got all the characters there in the middle. I think my favourite character is Pleakley, the original version of Pleakley. I think he's just hilarious and just a bit of a queen, bit of an icon. We have this really beautiful, I want to say it's a Loungefly pin, partly because of the size, but also it's got the logo on the back, of Stitch at a campfire. But I just love this pin because of the colours. I'm going to go like a bit intensely up close, but you've got these really soft like purples and magentas and blues. It just looks so beautiful. You've got a scrump and then a little ducky at a campfire. It's toasting marshmallows by the moon. It's quite a layered pin, as you can see. There's quite a bit to it. But I just think the Loungefly pins and the pink Alamode pins are just stunning. The detail in them, because they are bigger, I think just stand out. This is a central pin on the notice board because I just think it's so just so captivating, and I really, really love it. I think it's stunning. I am aware that obviously you can't trade Loungefly pins, just as a little side note, but I think any Loungefly pin that I've had so far, I have like zero intention of trading, unless it's from like a Loungefly mystery box. Then I can appreciate that some people will trade with it, some people won't. But all of these big ones that we've got, I'm like, they're for keeps. Okay, so the next set of pins I have are a really cool set, and we have one left to get before we finish the set. But I keep saying to Joe, let's wait until the event to see if we can finish it there, because we'll be vlogging the event as well, by the way. So subscribe, like, comment, let's all stay engaged, so you can see what happens at this event. It's going to be wild, I think. So this set we have, it's this like photograph collection, and we have one more to go, and I believe it's an up close Stitch. He might have glasses on or something, I'm not sure, but I'm going to show you them all on the board. But this is where we're at so far. Now, this was a combination of Disney and Days Out. We got one from them. We got, I think, maybe 2 or 3 from Nicola, hi, whose channel is, I know her Instagram is Disney to Universal. Amazing pin collector. I remember at the Stupins event, and she was Nicola was walking around with this pink trolley with all of her pins in, and I remember thinking to Joe, I was in awe of all of her pins and the way she'd organized them. I was like, do I need a trolley? She's made me want to get a little pink trolley. Anyway, the other person was George and family, whose channel and Instagrams is Loops and Donuts. So it was so nice to actually have like a real trading and buying experience from some very seasoned traders and collectors. So all of those pins have come from our friends, if you will, within the community. So we want one more. We want the final one, and I'm pretty sure it's Stitch with glasses, or I know it's up close. Joe has told me that it's like a really up close picture of Stitch. So we have that just to go, and then that's our collection done for that one, and that will be another series completed. Finally on this board, oh, not finally, I'm holding off basically because there's a very special collection I need to show you, and it's actually Joe's collection. But before we get to that, the final one I have of Stitch on this board is this one on Big Thunder. Big Thunder Mountain, Big Thunder. I really like that. I've actually just realised that's not even the last one of that before we get to our little special collection. Just bear with me. So this is just our little pin trading bag that I bought in September last year. I am actually toying with getting the big one, which is silly because I've got so many pin folios now, and Joe and I are like, we need to figure out how to organise our pins so we don't just continuously buy bags. The final two Stitch pins that I have that are not a part of this next special collection is I've got Stitch here dressed as a bellhop for the Tower of Terror, and then I also have this elevator which the doors do shut and open, cutting the wire to the elevator. Terrible. Just a little special shout out really for the Tower of Terror pins. They're all so detailed. I know these have nothing to do with Stitch, but they've all got these little added extras hanging from them. Like you've got the hotel key, you've got Donald Duck. Stitch is, you know, if he wasn't pinned down, he's hanging from the little elevator bell. Just love them. It's one of my new favourite rides. I'd never been on that until September, and I walked off it with such a like positive adrenaline rush. It was amazing. Anyway, the final little section of our Stitch collection, if you will, is a very special collection that Joe has been working on, and it's only right that I saved the best until last. I'm going to pop this down here just because I refuse to cross my legs again. So we have, of course, and we can't forget, the experiment that came before Stitch. And that is, of course, Experiment 625 Ruben. Now this is this is Joe's favourite character. He adores him so much, and I think, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, I think it's because he finds him quite relatable. We have just a few here. So that first one I showed you is just a really beautiful Ruben pin. It says 625 on it. We have a hidden Mickey Ruben just here, just him as he is. We've got one here where I don't know what this style of pin is. I mean, it's an official Disney pin, but he's a bit more kind of cartoonistic looking. And then we have this really beautiful pin that actually has 624, 625 and 626 on. So we currently have it displayed as Ruben, but then it does also show off Angel and Stitch. So you've got all three there, but we often have it showing off like this. Look how happy he is. I think that's a lovely pin. And then finally, this one here, which I think Joe again bought just as part of his Ruben Stitch collection, I guess. We do have an Angel as well. I know nothing about her character. I've never watched the films really beyond the first Lilo and Stitch. I've seen a little bit of the series so that Joe could show me Ruben and introduce me to him, but other than that I really don't know too much about these two characters, but they're sweet. I think Angel's like not my favourite pin ever. I do think Ruben's quite funny, and now that I've seen him in action, I suppose I appreciate his pins because of who he is. But yeah, I love the pins so much for Stitch. I think it's fair to say that you've certainly got enough to choose from because he is so present, shall we say, within the Disney world. And of course, with the new film now that's already out, I'm sure we will see a lot more bursts of Stitch, if you will, throughout the year. And rightfully so. I think he's a great character. He's harmless, really, and, you know, it's all good fun. It's all within the fun of Disney. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like. I would really appreciate it if you can comment below. Do you like Stitch? I guess this is going to be my question of the video is, are you bothered by the ever common presence of Stitch, or are you not that fussed? I know it divides opinions, but I also know that it's a harmless debate. People really aren't that bothered by it. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Why is it, do you think, that he is so present, especially at Disneyland Paris, where he is everywhere? And if you could give me a subscribe, that would be amazing. I am slowly but surely on my way to 1,000 subscribers. That's my new goal. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful 626 day, whatever you are doing. I am at work, so it's kind of fun, but yeah, not quite as much fun as I'm sure other people may be having if they're at Disney or something celebrating, but it's all good. And it's all something to look forward to as well. As I said, I am going to be vlogging as much as I possibly can when we go to the Pinsane event in July, as well as when we go to Disneyland. This will be our first proper attempt at vlogging Disneyland. I did vlog the Stew Pins trading event. It was my first proper vlog, kind of doing all of that stuff, so bear with me if you ever watch that. You'll see where the nerves maybe kicked in, but we did our best. However, I'm going into these next couple of events with a bit more confidence and slightly better equipment. So we'll see what happens there, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah!